Do you sell as is, or should you do the prep work? 5 years ago, I didn't have this conversation. We didn't sit down and debate as is versus prep work because the answer was usually obvious. There was so much demand, it didn't matter. Today, this is a must-have conversation because buyers are limited in ways that they weren't before, and sellers can no longer rely on market tailwinds to do the work for them. If you feel like something is off, it's because a dramatic change has occurred and nothing announced it. There's a moment in life when a season ends and you only realize it later. That's the housing market right now. And let me tell you what I mean by that. From the late 1940s through the early 70s, a single income, often a union or manufacturing job, could support a mortgage, a car, health insurance, and children. In the 1970s, inflation accelerated, and by the 80s and 90s, dual income households weren't a choice. They were survival. Gradually, then suddenly, one income was not enough anymore. The music just stopped. There was no headline. There was no law saying 2 incomes required. The cost of a home then was 2 to 3 times your annual income. Nationally, this chart shows how home prices and incomes used to move together and how now they don't anymore. Today, homes locally cost 6 to 8 times your annual income. Even on a national level, we're near historic affordability extremes. These shifts don't become real through headlines. They become real when the numbers stop working and that sick to your stomach panic sets in. You cut back, you change your life, and sometimes you quietly have to let go of a dream or a future that you were counting on. That's where we are again. Affordability is at historic lows, and that fundamentally changes how buyers behave and what you as a seller can realistically expect. So by the end of this video, you'll know whether selling it as is or doing improvements makes sense for you. Before Rocky was ever a movie, Sylvester Stallone was broke. He was sleeping on couches at one point. He even sold his dog to survive. When the studios finally wanted his script, they made him an offer. They said, "We want the story, but we don't think you bring enough to the film." In other words, they'd buy the script as long as he didn't star in it. And he said no, because the offer wasn't just about money. It took away his dignity. A lot of sellers feel something similar when they're selling their house as is. So they price the property higher than a buyer will pay, not out of greed, but because pricing it lower feels like judgment. They want to be recognized for the effort that they have put in over the years. But then once it hits the market, in comes the feedback. And the feedback usually sounds like, well, the house has value, but you didn't do enough. And nobody wants to feel judged for the condition of their home. So let me give you a way to think about this that can protect you. Dignity doesn't come from ignoring the market. It comes from selling in a way that you're not going to regret later. What takes away the regret is pricing it right in the beginning, because then the market does not control you and you avoid being dragged to the right price later. That's how you get leverage. You get ahead of it. And it comes down to this. If your price says move-in ready, the house has to tell that same story. If the story of the house is as is, then the price has to say that too. Homes don't usually sit because of condition. They sit because the price and the story do not match. Here are some examples of homes that I've sold in the last 3 or 4 months as is that all had multiple offers. Here's one at the Lakes, 27 offers. Here's one in Spring Valley, 15 offers. Here's one in Sun City, 18 offers. So yes, you can sell your home as is, but the price has to do the work. So let's change gears. Now let's talk about when prep work does make sense. Consideration number 1, are you competing with new homes? In many cases, you are not just competing with resale homes anymore. You are competing with the builders. The builders used to be able to sell at a premium, meaning higher than a resale home. That premium is now gone. That's what you're looking at in this chart. Builders are now price competitors. Sellers are no longer competing on charm alone. The builders will lower prices. They will buy down rates. They will pay closing costs. They will move volume without hesitation. And if you're within 1 to 2 miles of new construction, buyers are comparing you whether you like it or not. So the question that needs an answer is, how are you positioning yourself against a brand new home down the street that has the latest appliances and interior design and a 10-year warranty? Consideration number 2, who is the ideal buyer for your home? Right now, the market is being driven by 2 buyers. The top 20% of income earners, which is $200,000 a year or more, and they're responsible for about 50% of all spending. That's what this chart shows. Those at the top are called asset-driven buyers. Everyone else is called payment-driven. So ask yourself, which buyer is more likely to buy your house? And then think about it like selling a car. Sometimes detailing that car pays because the right buyer notices and pays for it. Other times, the buyer for that car is capped by what they can afford, and no amount of improvements change that. Housing works the same way. If your buyer is a payment-driven person, prep work and improvements help attract them. It doesn't usually, right now, drive the price way up. That buyer simply cannot afford it. This chart here shows how this plays out in real life. We are seeing record cancellations right now across the country on real estate contracts, and Nevada is at number 2. If your buyer is asset-driven, condition matters more. The improvements and prep work that you do takes away the reasons for a buyer to hesitate, negotiate, or walk away. It's the difference between earning top dollar or sitting on the market for a long time. So here's the trade-off. If you want top dollar, you earn it with prep work. If you want zero prep work, you earn it with price. So see, there's no wrong strategy. There's only the wrong mismatch. Should you sell as is? It depends on your tolerance for price. Should you do improvements? It depends on your competition, your buyer, and your tolerance for risk. If you want some help deciding which strategy actually fits your house, reach out. I'm happy to walk through it with you. We'll see you next time.